If you feel like you're constantly breaking up fights between your kids and nothing you say sticks, nothing is working, it's just one fight after another, you're not alone. This is the truth though. Your kids, most kids, don't actually know how to play together. They aren't being bad, they're missing skills, and that's something that we can teach, and I want to encourage you about that. So, let me say, sibling conflict is exhausting. It's not random though. It's not about being naughty. It's often a sign of missing skills, of emotional regulation, communication, flexible thinking, the ability to have interrelational conflict and resolve things. These are all skills that we teach. Play is where kids learn real life interaction. We just kind of expect kids, because they are supposed to care for each other, like we're family and we should just care. We expect them to know how to share, how to negotiate, how to take turns, but really we have to really teach these things. And if you have children, one child or all of them, that are neurodivergent, that are not getting along, not playing well together, fighting, grabbing things, they need these skills. And I think family is so important. And these relationships between siblings is really, really important. Some parents will say, that's just how brothers are, or I was the same way with my sister. Siblings just fight, that's how it is, and they understand better what their parents were dealing with, right? But I disagree to the extent that I want you to learn how to handle it, how to teach this, how to help your kids, because it really, I feel like, is the basis of helping them to develop relationships. And if you have a child that's neurodivergent, they're probably not getting along very well other places either. And so we really do have to teach them the right kinds of interactions. I think it's important for them to know how to interact with adults and how to interact with kids their age. And the best place to practice it is at home, because we can have a different standard than maybe there's going to be on the playground. And so you get to help model that, you get to help teach that. And it's not just about expecting it to be one way or another. I mean, parents are most often surprised when their kids get along so well, right? Especially if you grew up in a family where you had conflict. But it's a challenge, I guess, to look at it like, okay, what do we need to teach here? Kids that have trauma, that have sensory differences, that are, struggling, maybe have even strong personalities, they are going to need even more guidance here. You may have one child that's the bossy kid and the other kid just kind of follows along. This is where you're really going to have to teach and train, and just know that that's kind of part of what we have to do. If you want your kids to grow up with healthy relationships with their siblings, if you want them to know how to interact in a family situation when people are at all different levels in their abilities, this is really critical, and it's a thing that I'm just encouraging you as a parent to kind of wrap your mind around about what do you want it to look like. I think that we all want everyone to just get along and be calm, but we know that we have to be taught those skills. And in teaching your kids those skills, like, you are going to be so amazed, because you're going to grow as well, because interrelational skills in the family, when I teach those, everyone's learning and everyone's making changes, and I love that piece of it, because we can always get better. We can get better at how we communicate with people. We can get better at how we solve conflict. And so this is so different than just being a referee and just kind of telling them to stop, or separating them, or putting them in their places, or being exasperated because you guys were playing so good and then it blew up. It's this is a bigger issue, and it's more complex than just yelling at your kids like, who had it first, and do you want me to solve this, and so you take it away, or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that any of those things won't happen, that you need to do, but it's figuring out how to help your kids to know. So, like, instead of who had it first. It's learning to be able to say, let's figure this out together, or can you try asking, or please don't take that from his hands. Instead, I want you to ask for it, and guiding them in that, and so that they know what to do, and not just assuming like they know better, right? If they knew better, I believe they would do better. And none of us, even when we know better, does better if we're in the middle of a conflict and we haven't like had a lot of practice with those skills, even as adults. So just learning that there's going to be some guidance here. One of the other things that I would recommend, so that you don't end up just being a referee, is that you are teaching your kids how to play, and you are there, and it's intentional. And so you're modeling and you're narrating the skills that you want to see. And if you do this with your older kids, your first kids, and you are teaching them, and if you have kids that have come to you because of trauma, adoption, things like that, you absolutely have to take some steps back and teach them how to play, teach them how to just be the kids. I see a lot of older kids too in families, and it doesn't even always have to be big families, but sometimes the older kids, even if they are neurodivergent, but they're high functioning, a lot of times they kind of they don't really know how to play either. And so they might know how to distract their younger sibling, or how to like make a trade, like, here, play with this while I take this, but they haven't really learned how to like play. So work on that, and also have structured play games with your kids, have reading time, have some things that they're doing together, but it's kind of directed by you. It doesn't mean about entertaining them all the time. I think that's where we get confused with intentional parenting, is not just entertaining them. It's doing life together, but it's teaching these skills as you go. If you have a lot of problems with sibling conflict and sibling issues, the last thing that you want to do is put them alone together without anybody watching what's happening. So keep them. They can play together, and maybe for shorter periods of time, because I like to end things when it's going well. But you don't want them necessarily in their bedrooms, or somewhere where you can't see them, or you don't know anything that's going on until someone's screaming or crying. I want you to see what's happening as it's building up. And when you're closer, when you're nearby, you can see all of it. Some of the ways that you can kind of model and narrate that skill, it's telling them, like, I see that you both want the same thing, but what can we do? Or you want to play this game and he wants to play this game. So how can we solve this? How can we work this out? Use a calm voice, use short phrases, slow things down so that they can stay regulated. When kids are fighting and we jump in the mix, it's like we're all dysregulated and we're all freaking out. So staying as calm as you can be really helpful. I encourage you to let go of the idea that siblings should just get along naturally. That and I see this other piece of it too. Like when you have a child that has a disability or has struggles, and you have other kids in the home that maybe don't have the same struggles, we don't want to build a case against this child, and we also don't want to how do I say this? I think we don't want to feel sorry for the kids that we feel like, oh, they're not getting attention because this child is taking all of my attention. We can work that out, but this is part of their life and their experience and the challenges that they are meant to go through, that we have these kind of different challenges in our family. So that way we're not just blaming, like sometimes an older child or even a younger child that doesn't have the same problems as sibling, the child that has whatever the problems are, like, the even ones that came to us through adoption, whatever. It's like a lot of times I see the other siblings get blamed, or that child get blamed for what the other siblings are doing. No, we're all like growing and learning and changing. And when we look at it like these are skills that have to be taught, and in our family units, like this is the best place to do it, because they are, if it's true that the kids are just, your kids that are misbehaving are only misbehaving because of what they learned from this sibling, then this is a place where we really have to work as a parent to build those skills, because if that's true, if they just follow whatever's going on, that's what they've seen, that's what they do, then how are we going to prepare that child for the other things that they're going to see and experience in the world, at school, or with other friends? We have to start helping them to know right and wrong, and how to connect, how to play, all of that, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate in the context of our families. I feel like it's like a little microsystem that helps us to prepare our kids for other things in the world. So yeah, letting go of that idea that they should just get along, right? And just know too that this takes time, it takes practice, and that some of the best sibling bonds are built through working through these things. I had 2 of my kids fought all the time. It was crazy. Up until that point, my kids really didn't have a lot of sibling issues for different reasons. And then I had 2, my youngest 2, that were they really would be at it. And there were times we could solve things, and then there were times where it was like, okay, and now looking back, I know so much more about dysregulation and the way brains are patterned. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have known that back then, because I really feel like a lot of that was because I had more than one child that was neurodivergent, but I just didn't quite see it because there was other things that were going fine. But we still had to work through those, and we had to be intentional about it. And what was funny to me was that we didn't have them together all of the time, because we knew they didn't, it was just they were so quick, right, to get upset with each other. And but they always found their way back to each other, and they might have a terrible day of not getting along, a lot of conflict, and one of them needing to be close to me, or both of them you guys can play, but you have to be right here at the table, that kind of stuff. And then it was like, can I stay the night in my sister's room, after the end of the day? I'm like, really? No, at least have the night to not fight, so but it's not that it's just going to work itself out. It's teaching and having that hope and knowing that that's the goal, right? Is that we want our family to be close into adulthood, and that's what we're really working towards. So I hope that that's helpful. And if you actual practical connecting words and how to do that, there's a couple different ways that you can access that help. One is that you can contact me through parentingchallengingkids.com and set up a free consultation. Also, my book, Parenting Emotionally Distressed Kids, has a lot about connecting language and interrelational relationships that you can apply to sibling issues. Leave a comment in the video or ask your question right there in your comments, and I would be happy to get back to you. Thank you.